for 54,000.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our second information session. We're so excited to talk more about the fellowship and share our experiences and let you ask any questions for us if you have any. And all of our panelists for today, we're all international students, foreign nationals. So if you are one of them, it's an incredible opportunity to ask questions, specifically regarding being an international student and applying to the fellowship. So does anyone have any questions or comments to add before we begin? Awesome. All right. Cool. So let's start with a brief introduction about our panelists. We can share more about who we are, what we do currently, briefly about our Zed's experience in our internship and how we got in, and we can move forward with the rest of the slides. So I can go first. My name is Simran. I am from Nepal. I was born and raised there, and I moved to the United States for attending college. I went to the University of Alabama, did aerospace engineering, and recently graduated. For my Zed internship, I was actually the first cohort, the first class of the fellowship, and I interned at Whisk, which is an eVTOL company based in Mountain View, California. And I interned as a mechanical engineer, designing their tilt rotor mechanism. And I think I can speak for everyone on the panel today when I say that Zed really picked up my career and changed my career track and gave me the wings to fly in the industry and really helped me get my foot in the door. And currently I work as a spacecraft qualification engineer at Planet. Big part of my job is to ensure that all of our satellites launch to space successfully and survive launch. And we recently launched 1 Pelican and 36 Super Dove satellites this weekend. So it's always exciting to share. All right, Raksha, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Raksha, Sai Raksha. But yeah, a little about me. I'm an Indian citizen, but I actually grew up in Burkina Faso. So I feel like I've been an international student per se, like my entire life. So having this feeling has been super reoccurrent in my life. A little about me. I went to Georgia Tech. I also studied aerospace engineering and graduated last summer. Yeah. And I was part of class of 22 for the Zed Factor Fellows, and I actually got paired up with my host company, which was Planet, and now I work full-time there. So that's like in a very evident scenario where like Zed Factor basically helped me like develop my career, land a full-time job. So super grateful for that. At Planet, I work as a engineering program manager, and basically my job is to ensure all of our teams are doing their great work, but also we are meeting our programmatic milestones, and yeah, a lot of work with schedules, vendors. So yeah.
Would you like for me to go next?
Yeah.
Alrighty. So my name is Sindhu. I was a part of the 3rd class, so after Simran and Raksha, and my host company was AIA, Aerospace Industries Association, and I completed the internship just this past summer. I am currently a senior at the University of Alabama, and I am also doing aerospace engineering. I am a little bit of background about myself. I am Indian by origin as well, but I was born and raised in Qatar. So a bit of like the same scenario as Raksha. We have been sort of international students already, and then moved here to the States for my undergraduate studies. And yeah, just kind of to like piggyback of what both of them said before. Yeah, these like the host companies that Zed has partnered with are truly amazing. You know, they have offered us pathways to future opportunities, like full-time opportunities, and so very excited to be on this panel. Yeah.
Awesome. We have a stellar panel here. I feel like we accumulate a lot of different experiences, but also very similar experiences. So yeah, reserve all of your questions towards the end because we would love to help you out. Awesome. So I wanted to start by talking about Zed's mission, which is to empower people from historically excluded backgrounds to make their mark in the aerospace industry. And historically, as we all know, aerospace as an industry has not been the most inclusive. And as we go on advancing technologies to reach far and beyond and advancing capabilities, we're not equally advancing in terms of bringing a diverse set of people to work towards it. And I think we're falling behind in celebrating diversity of stories and identities, and in turn, diversity of thoughts and opinions and ideas. And consequently, we're not fully harnessing our potential to go far and beyond in the industry. And I think this is what Zed is trying to solve. We want to bring in diverse stories from all different backgrounds, and we want to accelerate people's lives and careers, including ours in the panel, right? And we recognize talents that often is left underrepresented and is often left unheard and unseen. And this is an amazing mission because, you know, when you're in space, when you look down on the Earth, you don't really see borders. And because we are in one mothership in planet Earth, and we're all one. And I think to go the furthest we've ever been, we have to go as one. And I think Zed embodies that mission very well. The next thing that I wanted to mention was Zed's name and the logo. And I think it's very unique because if you see at other fellowships in the industry, they're usually named after a pioneer who has worked towards the industry and the DEI efforts. But when we were naming the fellowship, when our co-founders were naming the fellowship, they couldn't find a particular person or one person that could embody so many diverse stories and experiences. And that's why they named the fellowship after the Z-axis, which comes from Zed. And so the Z-axis represents the vertical axis of your career. So as you go on climbing your Z-axis of your career, we want all of our Zedis to be represented in the name, and we want to help all of our Zedis to climb up their Z-axis. And I think this is such a unique way of naming a fellowship because you know, all of us can't relate to one single role model because we come from so many different backgrounds. And so we find ourselves represented in the Z-axis as we're climbing it together. And then the next thing that I wanted to talk about was our pillars of the fellowship. So we have 5 main pillars, the first one being internship. So if you become a Zed Factor Fellow, we provide you with a 10 to 12 week long internship in the summer or the fall with one of our host companies in our website. The host companies are usually leaders in the aerospace industry, and they come from, you know, they work on a variety of missions. So whether you're an aerospace engineer or a computer scientist or interested in space medicine, there is a space for you within our host companies. And so internship is an integral part of the fellowship because it provides you, for some of us, our first internships in the industry, especially for international students. That's a big deal because you can climb up so many other ladders after you get your first foot in the door. The second thing is mentorship. So if you are a fellow, we provide you with 2 mentors. The first one being an executive level mentor who is a pioneer who's had years of experience in their careers and who will really guide you to craft your North Star of your career and plan your 5 to 10 year trajectory and help you get where you want to go. But you also get matched with a peer level mentor who is only a couple of years ahead of you, who've had similar experiences and very recently, right? So they are able to provide you with some very realistic and achievable and actionable advice in any struggles you're facing or any dilemma you're in. So the mentorship is a very important part of the fellowship because you typically don't get access to these caliber of people anywhere. So you can always go look at the mentor list in our website and see how much breadth of an experience and careers they bring. And personally, in my experience, I was matched with 2 mentors who I regularly still talk to, and it really helped me during my ZE summer when I was dealing with a lot of struggles as an international student, trying to find my foot in the door. So it's an amazing aspect of the fellowship. The next thing is professional development. So if you are a fellow and before you start your internship, we want to equip you to be very successful in your internship. So we do a series of professional development workshops and webinars to help you prep for your internship. We're planning to do more professional development workshops on Zedis for early career people. So things like negotiation or having a good relationship with your manager, or crafting your OKRs in your work life to be where you want to be and climb up the ladder in the company, right? So we offer a lot of professional development trainings, which are led by a lot of Zed alumni and co-founders and also mentors from our mentor list. And the next thing is network. And I think this is the most important aspect of the fellowship, because during your fellowship summit and during your fellowship year, you get to meet so many amazing people from your cohort, so many amazing alumni, and get to have a deep relationship with the co-founders as well. And I think that's the best part of the fellowship for me, because I have met incredible people that have helped me and advocated for me and supported me in my career through the fellowship. And it's such a tight-knit community that will be there for you and advocate for you as you progress on through your career. And the next thing is community engagement project. And this is something that also sets Zed apart from other fellowships in the industry, because we want to make sure that we're not only impacting the life of the fellow who is selected to be a Zed that summer, but also lives of people in their communities that they represent. So you get to craft a project of your choice, of your idea, that is catered towards outreach and development of your communities that you represent. So it can be your community back home if you're an international student, or it could be one of the minority groups that you represent in your identity, right? So it can be anything that you want. There's no hard rule on what you can do or what you cannot do, as long as you're impacting lives of other people around you. And it can also be as small as mentoring one person and carrying it through, or it could be as big and ambitious as organizing a conference in your home country. So you really get a lot of flexibility and ownership of what you want to do with the community engagement project, but just making sure that you're impacting lives of people around you.
In progress.
I wanted. Oh, am I echoing? Okay, all good. I also wanted to talk about this quote that is on our website that I think it's so amazing. It says, "Some of us have great runways already built for us. If you have one, take off. But if you don't have one, realize it is your responsibility to grab a shovel and build one for yourself and for those who will follow after you." And I think that really shows why we want to do a community service project and make that a part of the fellowship, because we want to ensure that when we're selecting Zedis, we want to make sure that they are future pioneers who will, break barriers and open doors and hold it open for those to come after them. All right, the next is a list of host companies that are on our website. And again, this is constantly changing. We're constantly adding new host companies as we go on in the application timeline, but these are the current list of host companies on our website. And for international students specifically, we will be working on creating a list of host companies that hires foreign nationals or international students, and we will be posting it on our social media and also emailing it to everyone who attended. All right, now passing on to Raksha.
Yeah. As for eligibility, I actually saw a question in the chat. So yes, one thing to note, this fellowship is open to like all majors. So as long as you have a passion for aerospace and you want to be in that industry, whatever type of role, whether that's like a business role, whether that's like an engineering role, this fellowship is great for all in that sense. But yeah, I think we talked about this, but the main focus of Zed Factor Fellowship is to give people from excluded communities and backgrounds more opportunities to help them get, a step up in their career that, it might have been more difficult to reach. And another thing, for you to be eligible, you just have to be a full-time undergrad student and have completed 30 plus college credits. That includes like AP, IB, dual enrollment credits as well. And for international students, you need to be legally eligible to work in the US, and this is defined as a US citizen or a US permanent resident, deferred action for childhood arrivals, or international students with who are eligible for OPT, which is optional practical training. But yeah. As for the application materials, in order to apply, you need your CV and resume, which should be no longer than 2 pages, and this should showcase your skills and experience. I have a note on this. I think take this opportunity as if like you can include all kinds of experiences. This isn't like a job resume where you just have relevant experience. Like in this case, anything is like, it's just really cool to hear about a candidate's experience. It can be from community service or a really cool hobby you have. Like just use these 2 pages to fit in as much about yourself. And that's like a tip I have for that. You will also need your transcript. So I think for this one, it can be an unofficial transcript from your college. I know official ones are expensive, so unofficial works. And you will have to write 3 essays that basically showcase yourself. And Sindhu is going to be going into more on what the essays entail. So.
Awesome. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, perfect. So with the essays, this is your chance to get creative and really tell, the fellowship, who you are and what sets you apart from other people. And so, yeah, use this chance to get your creative juices flowing. You have 3 prompts you have to answer. The first one is basically about like this ideal job or career goal that you have that like post your undergraduate studies, and what drives you, what is something that got you to this industry or motivates you to stay in this industry, what change you want to see. Those are some of the things you can be thinking about for the first one. For the second one, you craft a community service project in ways that you see yourself serving your community, what tools you see your community needs and that you can provide, and more importantly, focus on the aspect of how the fellowship can help you achieve these goals. And then the third one is it's about you. Why do you think you're a good candidate, and what sets you apart from the rest, and what you can contribute, not just to the Zed community and the fellows, the previous fellows, and that network, but also to your community, and how you're going to sort of bridge that gap. And yeah, what are some of the goals you hope to achieve, and how the fellowship can be a part of that. And I will definitely say with the essays, make sure that you put some time and thought and effort into it, and of course, like, get them reviewed by your peers and your mentors. And yeah, hopefully that helps. And yeah, now it comes specifically to tips that some like we've all sort of gathered over the last couple of years. Be very, very specific. Do not like beat around the bush. The essays, some of them have only 350 words or less, some of them are 500 words, and it can be pretty challenging to say your story. So make sure you don't beat around the bush and be very specific. And talk about yourself and, your community. Make a brief outline before you start writing so you kind of know how to, go about answering those prompts. Be very careful to specifically answer the prompt and keep going back to that and make sure you're answering that. Tell us a tale, tell us the story. Do not make it very personal, make it very memorable, so it leaves a lasting impression on whoever's reviewing your application. Please do avoid, the very overused sort of, when I was a kid, as a kid, things like that. Those tend to be overused. So be very unique with the way you address the prompt. Start early, the application's already open and is due January 2nd. And so be very, very, proactive about answering those prompts and getting your essay started soon. Revise them, make sure that you're getting them reviewed as well. And please, reach out to all of us in the whole Zed community in case you have any questions or would like some specific help. I can answer this as well. So for the community service project, this is like the fun part that you get to do. So the community service project is essentially, along with the internship, that's another aspect that you get to do, as Simran mentioned. And it's really a chance for you to be able to get really creative. Since you understand your community best, you can craft up something very unique that in partnership with the partnership with the fellowship you get to execute. And you have a timeline that I think we'll be able to see in the next slide. But basically, we get to the fellowship first advises us on how we draft our plans, and we sort of submit it, and they go over it to make sure that it's doable, it's feasible. We have a budget per fellow of $500 for the community service project, so making sure we reduce the scope and it's an actually doable project is what the fellowship does. And after that, after the proposals are reviewed and accepted, then we move on to actually implementing these community service projects, getting feedback and sort of making them better. And the final presentations of each fellowship class is due in May, where we basically discuss what we did, how we can improve, advice for the next class, and so on and so forth. This is again a great outlet for your creativity, so make sure that you are getting your creative juices flowing and you are talking to people in your community, in the Zed community, and making sure you craft something that you and the whole community is proud of. So yeah. And yeah, here is a bit of a timeline. I think I'm going to turn this back to Simran.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. So as we speak right now, the applications are still open. As we mentioned, it's due on January 2nd, which is coming up. I know that it's like about 2 months away, but with the holidays coming up and everything, like the time goes by really fast. So please get on to your applications as soon as possible. You can always have more time, but if you have less time, like it never works out. So please don't procrastinate, and start creating little drafts here and there of what you want to talk about in your essays. We are doing 2 more info sessions by the time of application deadline. So if you have more questions, please feel free to join. There's also an applicant Slack that we created for prospective applicants to join and connect with each other, connect with the alumni and co-founders, and also ask questions. I can drop the link after I'm done sharing my screen. And in around January, February, semifinalists are selected. So we do a very careful and unbiased and fair review of all the applicants. And we release the list of semifinalists. And then after you become a semifinalist, we have phone interviews that you have to do with one of the Zed co-founders or alumni. And then in February or March, we narrow it down to our finalists. And that's when you will be notified of your host company matches. And during this round, we send applications to the host company matches, and they get to review your application, and they will then be sending out emails and notifications of interviews from their side. And so the number and type of interviews depends on the host companies that you're matched with. Some companies likes to interview, 3 or 4 times, including a technical interview, but some companies do it very short. So 1 interview for initial screening. And after you're done with all the host company interviews, then you get picked, if you're picked as a Zed Factor Fellow, and you get matched with your #1 host company. So the matching process kind of seems like magic, but it's really not, because if you're matched with 3 companies and you interview with them, you get to rank them on the basis of your preference, because it's not just the host companies interviewing you, you're also interviewing them for your preferences and likings. And so you rank them in order 1 to 3 if you're matched with 3 companies, based on where you would want to work the most. And the host companies also do that for the finalists that they've interviewed. And so if your #1 match ranks you #1, then that's a perfect match. But if your #1 marks you #2, but their #1 is going with another company, then you're matched with that. So it's kind of like this magic that the co-founders have found it work throughout the years. And usually when we've completed the matching process and the fellows are announced with the host companies that they're matched with, they're usually very happy, and it always works out. And around April of next year, we're aiming to announce our class of 2024. So that's going to be super exciting. All right, this is what we have in our presentation. Again, the applications are due by January 2nd, and it's going to come sooner than you hope it would. So please start your applications. Let us know if you have any questions to the Slack, through our email. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn or any social media, and launch your career and climb your Z-axis. And we'll be more than happy to support you through your application process. All right, should we move on to Q&A? I see a lot of questions on the chat already. So maybe we start with the chat. And if you want to speak up about your questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions.
Yeah, I have a quick question about the projects. So we include the projects in our application, and then you review them. And for people who are selected, they implement the project in 2024?
Yes. So I think you usually have 6 to 8 months. It's been a long time for me, so I don't remember when you have to do your community service project presentation. Sindhu, do you know when you had to do yours this year?
For us, it was like the year after. So you have like 1 year,
the year after
summer, essentially. And I think I saw this question about community service projects. I think one way I would look at it is like, it doesn't really have to be the typical kind of community service project, like volunteer somewhere. It should be like a community that really like means something to you, and it can be a service in any form. There's no like fixed definition on that. So that's one way to look at it. Just needs to be something super meaningful to you. And you also, and I think in terms of the essays, like as long as you have a plan for it, doesn't have to be something you've already done, you've started. It can be an idea you have and you just want to write about that in an essay. And I think that's how mine was. So it was a very early idea kind of a stage, but Simran, maybe we should take the questions that people have first, and then we can address the ones in the chat.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I see. I don't know who raised
Yeah.
hands
Do
first.
you wanna? Yeah, I got it. I'll just go in order of my screen. Julian Montes, do you want to go ahead?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, first off, thank all of you for presenting this great opportunity. And then also I was making questions on my phone, so please excuse me if you saw me looking down at my phone. But so just to give background, my name is Julian and I'm a junior going to Babson College, and I'm going to study abroad at University of St. Gallen in Switzerland, and they collaborate with the European Space Agency. And I'm really just trying to make an effort to work in aerospace, and I go to a business college of where aerospace careers aren't really heard of. So the industry really interests me, and I would really love to get a business role at an aerospace company. And I've also made an effort to meet engineers who work at these aerospace companies like SpaceX, and so I've learned about aerospace from them, and I would really love to work at companies like that. And so my question is, how do you guys best recommend how I communicate this in my essay, and yeah, just how I can increase the odds of me getting accepted into Zed Factor?
Yeah, I think like that's a very cool niche interest you have that's already like really unique. I think just expressing what you're interested in, being sure about it, like that's I don't think we really have like, oh, we're gonna take this amount of engineers, we're gonna take this amount of like things. It's like if you're able to connect like with the Zed community in terms of your mission and line on there, and even like connect with what the hosts are looking for, like that's essentially it. So yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
that's great advice. I wanted to add about you mentioning why you want to be working at a aerospace company as a business person. I think really like doing an introspection and asking yourself like your big why of why you want to do that, right?
Yeah.
What's your drive towards it? Like, why are you passionate about it? And really reflecting that in your essay, I think helps a lot because I think that was in our application tip too. Like you can always write a generic essay, but for fellowships and Zed Factor in particular, we really want to see who you are through a piece of paper. And I know that that's like really difficult to show because you're just like writing words. But if you can find a way creatively and through a lot of reflection, why you're interested and what you want to do and how this fellowship will place you in the right track to get there, I think having a connection of that sort also helps the reviewers be like, oh, this person has these career goals and this is how we can help them. And also if you can mention something about host companies that you're interested in, from our website, and briefly mentioning why you're interested or what kind of work you could be doing with them can also provide like clarity when it comes to reviewing the application. But yeah, just be yourself and really show your passion.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And then I was taking notes on my phone as you were saying that.
You're good. Okay, David Omiavorio, do you want to unmute yourself? We can't hear you if you're saying something. Okay, maybe we can come back to David.
So put it in the chat, David. Maybe it's not working.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, Pascal Thomas, do you want to go ahead?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, first and foremost, just thank you very much for this presentation. It was very informative. And I guess my question is just to do with logistics and timeline. So I actually put my question in the chat earlier. I don't think I got a reply, but I am a recent graduate. I graduated in March from UCLA with a degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm interested in joining the fellowship. And I'm currently on my first year of OPT, which would end in May 2024. So earlier you stated your eligibility requirements would be that the candidate has to be currently enrolled in an undergraduate program. Do I qualify as someone who's already graduated?
I don't think so. And the other panelists can fact check me on this, but we're only open for current students, undergraduate students. So if you were a senior, in your fall semester or your spring
Mhm.
semester, you could have been qualified, but you said you already graduated, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it sounds like it's either you're doing your CPT while you're in your program or you're in your final semester and you have an OPT. That's probably the only situations in which you would have qualified. And yeah,
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
no worries. Okay. Joseph Liberato.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. Can we go over the word limit? I know how strict is the word limit in the essays? Like, let's say 10, 15 words word limit sort of thing.
You're asking if the words are 10 more than the word limit? Would that
So the for the essays, the word limits are like 350. Would it
Mhm.
be like strict if I wrote for like if I wrote 370 words or something like that? Like, how strict that is that?
I think 370 is okay. As long as it's not going like super overboard, I think it should be fine. I don't know if anyone has something different to say, but yeah.
I mean, I think still try to put it
Mhm.
within 350 words, because if we start reading words that are outside the word limit, then like you're basically giving some applicants more time, more words to show what they want to tell. So yeah, definitely recommend keeping it within 350, and maybe like +/5 or +5, 10 wouldn't matter. But if it's like 450, then I think that really shows in the application too, and maybe we wouldn't read the last 100 words.
Thank you.
Okay. Daniel Cruz.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sweet. Just want to say thank you for the presentation. So my question was more regards to that perfect Zed Factor Fellow. What steps did you guys take? How do you guys go about through with the essay? Is there like a specific, I wouldn't say like a specific rubric, but what would you guys recommend for anyone that's applying?
I can start. I think for starters, there's no like, fixed definition of, oh, this is a perfect SETI or anything like that. I think each of us had a very unique story and just like the ability to convey that story. I think assuming maybe like you're an international student, like it comes with a lot of the challenges and like kind of being very vulnerable about the issues you faced, but like also very like expressing your interest in your dreams and like kind of like Simran mentioned, just being able to show how like this fellowship like kind of fits in your plan of like getting from here to there, and like really like putting yourself out there is, I think, what like the biggest advice I'd have. But yeah.
Sindhu, did you have anything to share?
Absolutely, yes. I agree with what Raksha says. There is no like perfect sort of formula that you can adhere to for getting into the fellowship. It's really about just like, this is your experience, this is your story, you tell it the way you think is right. And of course, yeah, being vulnerable, as Raksha mentioned, is like a big part of it. And yeah, just find a unique way to narrate your story and find like stick to that narrative. Make sure that you're of course please at least get it reviewed, because it's like you have somebody else looking at it who can maybe suggest like a better way to phrase things and things like that. So yeah, that would be my tip, would be make sure to get it reviewed.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to reach out to any of us if you need any help or like any questions, like in terms of applications and stuff. So yeah. Okay. Next person, Faith Colin.
Hi. I had asked earlier about just like Well, I kind of have like two questions. Like one was about like what kind of community service projects fall under like a category like that the Zed Factor Fellowship would like recognize. And is that yeah, like what are some examples that you would give? Yeah.
I can give a few examples from like my cohort. I think we had a few people, for example, their community was their high school, and like the fact that they didn't have a lot of STEM outreach programs or anything, like they actually created a whole like workshop for their high school for their students to be more engaged with aerospace and like just engineering and stuff. So that's one example, but it could also range from like I also had another person who really wanted to help a community like with their like agriculture. So she actually created a drone project to like help, farmers kind of assess like, oh, what crops are bad, what crops are good, like especially during drought season and things like that. So I think there's a huge like range, like anything like you define as your community and like where is their pain point and how do you want to address it? And yeah, that's probably the route.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question was just how like what is an example of like what not to put? I know you gave some like no like negative answers like as far as like, oh, like when I was a kid, like I looked up at the stars, like that's an example. Like what are some other similar examples of what not to put?
That is a very good question. I think often we ask ourselves, oh, what should we put? But we never talk about the red flags to avoid. That's a really good question. I've never asked myself what not to put in an application.
Like trying to think of a few, but I would say maybe I think a lot of us might have started with a huge passion from a very young age, but like maybe don't concentrate too much of your essay on your past self, but also make sure to incorporate your present self, your future self. That's one thing I would do. And let's see. I think even in terms of like vulnerability, like I would talk about the problems you faced, the challenges you faced, but also talk about, oh, if you were given this opportunity, what could you do about it? So like maybe not just focus on your pains, but also like focus on the possibilities and all of that. So like a more like well-balanced essay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. Yeah. I think because like when you talk about your struggles and your background, you definitely tend to focus on like just the struggles and the bad parts of it. But I think really highlighting what did you do, even if you were put in that situation, how did you come out of it? Or if you haven't come out of it, what are you currently doing to come out of it? So tying your struggles and your past to what you're doing and really reflecting on different skills and personalities that you have, whether it's perseverance or resilience, bravery, anything that shows about who you are as a person, and not really like if you're, for example, if you write, sure there's a prompt if you can write about your role model in the industry, don't just write about them, but write about what did they do that inspired you to do what. So always like finding a way to connect your story and your examples to you and your story and who you are as a person. That could be helpful. But that's a really good question.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Thanks.
And regards to your first question that you asked, there is a blog post on our website where you can go and read about our past community service projects. So I can send the slides to whoever attended today, but if you go to our website, there should be a section called blog, and you can pull up our past alumni community service project for if you want to use it for inspiration or motivation. That could be a good resource.
Okay, that's actually very helpful. Thank you.
Rico, you had your hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry if it's a little bit noisy. I'm in the library now, but I just had a quick question regarding like finding or just like exploring the possible projects with the Zed Factor companies. So I've mostly just been like looking through the website, looking through each company's website, through the links on the Zed Factor page. But are there any other resources that you would recommend looking at just to get a better sense of the available projects?
Are you asking about the community service projects?
Or just sorry, I shouldn't have said projects, the internships available. So like more specific, like I'm mostly interested in like astrobiology and space medicine. So like trying to refine my search to kind of like those uh those factors and like just searching for like more specific examples of what's available.
I can take that. So the way it works, at least from what I understand, is they look at your application and they're trying to figure out sort of what you want in an internship, like what you're trying to get out of it. And of course, looking at the different companies that are on the website, you kind of get an understanding of like, oh, this is like a policy company. This is a company that deals with like the engineering aspect. This is a company that deals with like something with like the plant or like coding aspect or something like that. So you generally have an understanding of what the company does, and then specifically within the company, what departments like my understanding is like once you go past that semi-finalist round into the finalist round, your application materials get passed on to their HR, which then decides which specific division within the company, like will they be accepting interns, and like where does your application fit best in like which divisions. And so for example, for me, I got matched with 2 divisions in my host company, and I had 2 separate interviews for those 2 divisions to see which one I would be a best fit with. And so it really is like depending on like what you're trying to get out of the internship experience, what your interests are, maybe where some of your strengths are, and what they're looking for. And yeah, I think that's how they match you. If you guys wanted to jump in and add more info.
Okay, so the expectation is less that we have like a very specific, like, oh, I want to work with this company and do this project. It's more just like presenting our best selves, what our interests and stuff, and then you guys will handle I guess the whole matching process and like finding the exact project.
Yeah, I will be honest. I was like pretty interested in Planet, like even going into the interviews. I would say maybe not base your essay off of on the company, but once you reach like the interviewing rounds or something, just like describe your like interest and how it aligns perfectly with one of the host companies. I would definitely put that out there so everyone knows. But yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, and even if there's no direct correlation to the companies in the current list or the roles that they offer, that's like very perfectly aligned to what you want to do, like we will find the closest match. And I think Raksha mentioned in the chat, like being open-minded when you're applying for these fellowships is a very key thing, because you might not get what you hoped or wished for or wrote in your application, but you might get something that will lead you to that specific role or company. And just remember that Zed Factor is not just for internship, it's for getting a mentor, getting 2 mentors actually, and getting a community, and going to this annual summit in DC to meet all of your fellows and co-founders and important people in the space industry. I know this summer, the fellows got to go to the White House and had a panel with people who work in the National Space Council. So the Zed Fellowship or any fellowship, it's so much more than just the work or internship experience, that even if you don't get a perfect match of what you want to do in space medicine or astrobiology, you get so much more that will help you propel there. So, I mean, in my experience, I wasn't matched with the company that I wanted to work for. I put Planet as my first choice, and I actually got interviewed, but then I got matched with Whisk, who I also interviewed for. And now that I look back in my journey, Whisk played a significant role in making me confident in my technical skills and helped me land an internship at Planet next year. So it all connects. There's a connecting dot that makes sense when you look back at it. So yeah.
And it's just like getting that first foot in the door, honestly. That's like that makes a huge difference going forward. Okay, I think we have
Right.
one more
Thank you guys
question.
very much.
Yeah, Ayomid.
Yeah, hello everyone. How are you guys? Thank you very much for the presentation. It was amazing. I have like several questions. I was making a list as you guys were talking. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try and make it short. Okay. So my first question is I already submitted my application, right? So it's like I needed this in-person session before my application. So is there a way where I could like reject and withdraw my application and resubmit it, or like is it once and done? Because I really like got some ideas where I could like implement in my application, but it's like I don't know if it's too late.
I think you should be able to do it. I can double check with one of our co-founders and make sure that you can do it. And because our application is a Google form, actually, can you check if you after the presentation, can you check if you can go back to your submission and edit your responses? Because usually in a Google form you are able to do that, but if you can't, then we'll definitely reach out to you regarding that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So
actually, if you want to drop your email in a personal chat to one of us, that would be perfect, or all of us.
Okay. I'm gonna do that. Okay, thank you. Let me ask the second question. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll drop the email. So the second question is what resources or advice are available for applicants who aren't selected?
I'm sorry, I missed the second part.
Sorry, I said what resources or advice are available for the applicants who are not selected?
Yeah, I think the nice part about like fellowships is you can always apply like the next time. And I would really suggest like maybe even like going up to someone, like it could be something like it's not probably like you're not a good candidate, but maybe you didn't like express yourself well enough in an essay, or you had to be more vulnerable. So I would definitely like suggest like trying again. But also, yeah, you are so welcome to reach out to anyone like in the Zed Factor Fellowship if you want to have your previous application reviewed or anything, and like get advice for applying once again. So yeah.
Okay. I'm almost done. I have two more questions. Thank you very much. Okay, so my third question is how do you know if someone gets selected? Like, do you guys send an email? Do we have to check the website?
We usually send an email after like every round. So yeah.
Okay.
You'll be informed.
Okay, so this is my last question, I promise. Okay, so what advice do you have for somebody that is interested but has no experience or background in the aerospace industry?
I think I will say, like, even for me, I guess I did study aerospace engineering, so it's a little different, but I had no internship experience. I only had dreams. So I think really like conveying your dreams, and like even if it's not something like directly aerospace, maybe something you did like similar along those lines, like you can really like showcase like all the unique experiences you have and how you think like this is gonna help you take you forth in your career. If it's like an entire like different like stream than what you're studying. This is actually something cool. One of our Zed execs is like, I think he started out as correct me if I'm wrong, Simran, but he started out in like biology or something, and then he really wanted to get into aerospace, so he just networked his way into aerospace. So I don't really, there's no like you don't have to have like a perfect prerequisites or anything. You can have your own unique path and get into wherever you want to go, as long as you showcase your interest and your passion.
Thank you
and
very
I think
much.
that's what we're trying to solve, right? Like we don't want to feed into the successes of people who've already achieved internship and successes. We recognize people who are underrepresented and who haven't had a chance to get their foot in the door. And I think this is one of the examples of how you can achieve your first internship in the industry. And so I don't think, in our application or rubric, we don't really look for, how many internships does this person have, or how many projects did this person do? Like we look for personality, your passion, and your strengths and skills, and how we can leverage all of that to create your dream internship and help you launch your career. So yeah, don't worry about if you don't have a prior experience, because that's not the point. That is the problem that we're trying to solve and help you get there. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
And
I had
yeah,
a question.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, in terms of reaching out to you guys, just to learn more about y'all's experiences in the Zed Factor, would Slack be the best way to reach y'all?
Yeah, I think Slack or LinkedIn is fine. Yeah,
Okay, awesome.
I think all three of us have LinkedIn, so that works too.
Okay,
All right,
great.
I have one last question, I promise. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, no worries. You're
Okay,
good.
so if I'm to like go over my essay or whatever on my application, is it okay if I reach out to one of you guys, or like do I email you guys? How does that work out?
Yeah, sure. If you just want a set of eyes on it, then yeah, I think either all of us would be welcome to. And yeah, you can either I will say like I don't know, my personal email inbox is a mess, so LinkedIn is better. I do get my notifications. So if you want to like just find our names on LinkedIn, that works. Maybe I can drop our links. I'll try to do that in the chat actually.
And also, yes, just to piggyback off of that, there have been a couple of people who have reached out to me through LinkedIn to ask for advice and have actually set up one-on-one meetings with me to talk about their application and like, just crafting their essays and what inspired me and things like that. So if you want to have one-on-ones as well and you want to reach out to people via LinkedIn, that's a great way to do it. So yeah.
Any other questions? I know we're at the 1 hour mark, but if anyone has any last minute question, we'll be happy to take one or two more before we end the call.
Yeah, and if we miss something on the chats as well, and yeah, just point us.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I had one really quick question. So I'm a junior right now. My fall semester. And yeah, so I plan on applying for the Zed Factor. And so basically, right now would be my only chance to apply and get into Zed Factor, since once I become a senior, then it would kind of be too late, right?
No, you can apply your end year too. Like as long as you're an undergrad student enrolled
When you're applying. Yeah.
When you're applying, yeah. Because you can always like intern after your senior year ends, like after you graduate, you have the summer or the fall. As long as you are a student when you're applying, you're eligible.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know that.
Yeah, but still apply this year.
Oh yeah, definitely. I cannot overpass this opportunity.
If it makes you feel better, I applied literally like my final year. So yeah.
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 I'm glad to know I have 2 extra years then, but yeah, so
Yeah.
that way if I don't get in this year, I'll apply next year.
Yeah.
All right, any last minute, one more question? If not, then we will stop the recording and we will publish the recording on our YouTube or social media. So keep an eye out for that. And if we've exchanged emails or LinkedIn, please be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions in the future at any point in the application. And within or outside the fellowship, I think all three of us are more than willing to help you in your journey, because in our journeys, someone else also helped us, and that's why we're here. So we want to pass the torch and pave the way for everyone. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Raksha and Sindhu, for being on the panel. Thank you for your time and advice. And yeah, thank you, everyone. It's so good to see some faces here.
Yeah. Thank all of
And
you.
of course,
Thanks so much.
please continue talking to all of us through Slack and keeping us updated with your application, and good luck.
Okay, bye everyone.
Guys,
Thank you.
yeah.